chaka, ooga, 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 chaka, ooga, ooga.
I think that's enough.
I dropped my phone.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. It is the third episode, the first official episode of the Earnest Perspective podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Janzen, here back once again to discuss a movie that has recently come out. I know I said reviewing new and old, but so far it's been all new because it's summer and new stuff is coming out every week. This movie came out a couple weeks ago, and it's not that great. It's not that memorable, and it's not doing that well, but we're going to talk about it anyway. But before I introduce the movie, which you already know because you either saw the title or you're just intelligent, and you follow us on Twitter at Earnest Podcast. But first, it's my not-so-special guest, Noah Janzen.
Yay.
No relation to me. Just kidding, he's my little brother. Age?
16.
Gender?
Female.
Favorite movie?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
That's mine. Favorite video game?
Skyrim.
Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Death.
He is my brother. We live in the same house. That's why I say he's not a special guest, because he's not that special.
Thanks.
I'm just kidding. So expect a very cynical podcast today, because that's the vibe that Noah gives off. Not a bad thing. Quite a fun guy at parties. But basically we're here to discuss a movie, and I thought Noah was the perfect guy to bring on the show for this, mainly because it's easy and I just have to call up the stairs to ask him. I basically didn't even ask him. I basically forced him to be on the show. The movie is Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Directed by Bradley Bird and starring Britt Robinson or Robertson?
Robertson, I think.
I'm already an idiot. Anyway.
We don't need to fact check.
And George Clooney. It's Robertson. George Clooney, Hugh Laurie, Tim McGraw, and
Tim McGraw.
A few more people that don't need to be referred to by name.
It doesn't
just
matter.
At the moment. So, before we get into the review of the movie, this is the part where we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the source material that Tomorrowland is based off of. If you don't know, it is based off of the highly popular European music festival. It's about a young girl who really wants to go to Tomorrowland, but she can't afford it, and her cynical country father, played by Tim McGraw, does not approve of the electronic dance music prominent at the festival. He wants her to grow up to be a country singer like he is, so she meets George Clooney, and he is the leader of the festival.
Yes.
He takes her to Europe, and they enjoy...
And everyone jams out.
Everyone jams, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So
Sorry we didn't put a spoiler alert there. My bad.
we basically just summed up the whole movie, so now you don't have to see it.
Don't bother listening to the rest of the podcast. We're just gonna.
It was
go
a
in
great
depth.
coming of age film. Loved the music.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That Skrillex cameo was amazing. And yeah. All right. In all seriousness, Tomorrowland is based on the themed land at 5 Disney theme parks around the world. Of course, Disneyland in California, Magic Kingdom in Florida, Tokyo Disneyland, Disneyland Paris, and Hong Kong Disneyland.
And soon to be Shanghai.
To be Shanghai as well, which is in under construction right now. Planned to open in 2016. That's not relevant to the discussion at hand because it's not necessarily based on the decor completely, because it differs from park to park.
Different.
It's mainly the themes and ideals that Walt Disney decided to set up. So Noah's a Disney expert, one of the many reasons why I asked him to be on this episode in particular. So Noah, why don't you give us a little bit of background on what Walt Disney really had in mind for Tomorrowland back in the 1950s?
Oh boy. Okay, you're putting me on the spot here. I didn't do any research. Half of this could just be me just...
I asked you to do research.
No, you said to do research on the film, not the land.
Well, you know...
I know enough. Okay. All right. So, Tomorrowland, it's a land in Disneyland. Walt Disney originally envisioned it as this place where people could showcase the technologies of the future. The problem being, once they ran into this problem, the future happens quickly and technology changes more rapid and rapid, especially in the later half of the 20th century and into the 21st century. So during the 90s, they had to make a change and make it kind of the future that never was. Because the original Tomorrowland at Disneyland was the magical future of 1986, which has already happened. Ideas from this later developed into Progress City and what Walt described as his experimental prototype community of tomorrow.
Epcot for the layman.
There you go. And
I try to give as much knowledge as I can.
Thank you.
I'll throw in a tidbit here.
All right. Basically, it seems that this movie's Tomorrowland is more based off of Progress City and Walt's original plans for Epcot. Unfortunately, Walt died. They didn't know how to go about doing Epcot after his death, and we got a theme park.
All right. Yeah, I agree. This Tomorrowland is more of a city.
Well, I feel like that choice was about the only way they could really go with it.
Unless they wanted to make it
a
theme park.
A theme park movie, yeah.
All right. So this movie is not doing well on the box office, in the box office charts, okay? And I'm not one that thinks that movies have to appeal to the box office demands, but... So it's been out for what, 3 weeks now? 2 weeks?
3
weeks? Nearing
moving in on
weeks.
its 3, yeah.
71 mil domestic. 141 worldwide. And the movie cost $190 million to make. No, the real question here is, does Disney have another John Carter on their hands? A massive flop. I mean, this movie didn't cost nearly as much as John Carter did, or even The Lone Ranger, which was another one a couple years ago that didn't perform well.
As much as I hate to say it, it's sort of turning out to be like a John Carter. It has many parallels. For instance, a director more associated with animation, making a live-action film.
Okay, but here's where that differed, because he made Mission Impossible.
Yeah, he did. He did.
And instead of dragging animators from Pixar into live action, Andrew Stanton did and John Carter, Andrew Stanton, the director of Finding Nemo and WALL-E, as well as John Carter. So Brad Bird worked with a more live action team.
That is true.
So I think he was more successful in that regard.
That is where it differs. But also, I want to say that Tomorrowland was much better than John Carter was.
Very true. Also very true.
So that's why it really hurts to say that it is kind of shaping out a bit like a John Carter.
And I think Brad Bird, from what I've seen, I haven't seen The Iron Giant, but he hasn't made a bad film in my opinion.
No, definitely not.
Every movie he's made, to me, is like a 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 at least. To compare, John Carter made 73 domestically in its entire run, so around what Tomorrowland has right now, but the production budget is $250 million in comparison.
It's all that CG.
It made $284 worldwide overall. So I think Tomorrowland will at least make more than that. I don't know. I know it's being released in certain countries under another title because of the Tomorrowland Festival that we previously mentioned in our mock synopsis, which is entirely authentic, okay?
What? Why do they have to go name a music festival Tomorrowland? Anyways.
I don't know. It's bull to me. It's bullshit.
Disney could probably sue, I assume.
But they don't have theme parks in those countries, so...
I guess not.
Just like when if Tomorrowland wanted to do a festival in the States, which I think they have, they had to change the name to something else as well.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Got those Disney lawyers.
Without further ado, let's get into the review. That rhymed, wow. Brad Bird's Tomorrowland.
What if there was a place? A secret place where nothing was impossible.
No way.
A miraculous place where you could actually change the world. go.
Basically, what this is an in-depth spoiler review and discussion of the film Tomorrowland. So if you haven't yet seen it, I would definitely recommend that you see it, particularly if you're a fan of Disney, and more specifically like Disney parks, Disneyland, Disney World.
Disney history.
If you're a fan of that, that's what I recommend you go see it, because what we'll get into is that it's a blockbuster with a lot of optimism, good morals, good messages, maybe muddled in the way it communicates them, but we'll get into that. Overall, I would say, see it though. It deserves to be seen. Yeah?
Yeah, I'd say it deserves to be. I enjoyed it.
We saw it in 2D, so I wouldn't say go crazy with 3D and whatnot. It's fine in 2D. Watch Tomorrowland. Now we're going to spoil it. Hugh Laurie's the villain.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll go way back to the beginning.
Everyone's a robot.
So first of all, Noah, what did you think of it overall before we get into specifics?
Overall I enjoyed it. I don't know if this really counts as specific, but I found the first half to be significantly better than the second half of the movie.
I would agree. What were your expectations? Because I'm a Disney fan, but I'd say, an even bigger Disney fan. So what was your thoughts when you heard they were making a Tomorrowland movie, and then like in the weeks leading up to it?
When I first heard that they were going to make a Tomorrowland movie, I was like, how are they going to do this? Like, it's just like, oh, it's going to be another crappy Disney ride movie like Haunted Mansion.
It makes sense for like Haunted Mansion and Pirates, because there's somewhat of a story in a contained attraction. But when you're doing an entire land, that's like making Adventureland the movie or Fantasyland the movie, and it just being like a general fantasy movie or a general like adventure jungle movie.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what went through my head too. But then I heard Brad Bird was directing, so I said I'm sure that something good will come of this, and I guess I was right.
Yeah, I'd say you're right.
So I remember initially, right after we saw the movie, I wasn't a huge fan. I think I gave it a 5 out of 10 after we left the theater. I thought it was really unbalanced, but after listening to the Weekly Planet podcast and their review, a lot of their points made a lot of sense to me, and I got a better grasp on what the movie really had to offer.
I think I enjoyed it a bit more than you did when we first saw it in theaters.
Oh, I'd say for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
In the theater, I was kind of shaking my head at a few parts. Just some of the choices they made, I wasn't really feeling that too much. But overall, I like the tone of the movie. Maybe not always the visual tone, but the spirit of the movie. It's a very Disney movie. And I know a lot of people would say that as an insult, but that's not how I mean it. I genuinely think that it's a cool, like, Disney vibe movie.
Yeah, I get it. I get what you mean. Like, a Disney movie doesn't have to be a negative thing.
Usually it means, like, watered down,
whitewashed.
Family-friendly.
Yeah, but, like, I don't really see it as a negative thing when it's done to, like, movies like this, where it's fine to say this is very Disney, and I'm okay with this.
Yeah, it's very kid-friendly. I could see my, like, 8 or 9-year-old self, like, this would be my favorite movie right now. Maybe next to something like Avengers 2. If I was, like, 9 right now, this would probably be an amazing movie that I would want to watch over and over again. Because there was a little girl in the theater with her dad, like, very young, right?
Yeah.
And I could tell that, like, I'm sure she was loving everything on the screen, because it's not overly adult. Like, it's not, like, nothing that adults will ever enjoy.
It doesn't talk down to you, really.
No, it doesn't talk down to you. The messages are there, and they present them in a way that kids can understand and maybe even echo themselves.
Honestly, I didn't even find it, like, too preachy or anything. Like, some people have that complaint, and I don't really see it.
So we'll get into the plot overview of the movie. So there's a girl named... I'm gonna actually see if I can remember. Named...
Look at your... This is terrible. Why we can't even remember her name.
Casey, are you sure?
Casey,
Were you
I'm pretty sure it's Casey. No, I wasn't looking that up. I think it's Casey.
Casey.
Yes! Yes, I got it right.
I didn't actually look at it. Oh, does it say Casey?
I don't know. Did it say... I thought you looked.
Casey Newton.
Yes! It's Casey. All right, I got it right.
Okay, no, that doesn't even start with Casey. It starts with George Clooney talking to the camera about his days in Tomorrowland.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, that's my fault. I jumped way ahead.
You jumped the shark.
I jumped the prelude of the movie.
Yeah, you missed all the...
So, a young boy named Frank Walker, played by George Clooney, is heading to the...
The young boy, played by George Clooney.
Oh, sorry. God damn it. Frank Walker, young Frank Walker, played by Thomas Robinson, is heading on down to the 1964 New York World's Fair, famous for the place where Walt Disney debuted, I believe, It's a Small World and the Carousel of Progress.
As well as Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln.
So, 3 iconic attractions that still exist in Disney parks to this day.
Yep.
So that's a cool little thing. We'll get into more Easter eggs later. We're just going to go right through the plot. So, he goes up to a guy named David Nix, played by Hugh Laurie.
Who we've already confirmed is the villain.
But that doesn't really... He's kind of an asshole in this opening scene, but...
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later, because he's not really a villain anyway, but he's not that villainous. Anyway, so Frank is basically pitching him the idea of a jetpack. Now, I don't know if Frank is claiming to have invented the jetpack, or he has invented a jetpack.
It doesn't really specify.
I'm not really sure the exact year the jetpack was founded. Are they saying like a 10-year-old kid came up with the jetpack?
I think they are.
I'm going to Google when the jetpack came out.
Look at all this fact-checking. This shouldn't happen. We should just know these things.
Jetpack was founded. Okay, yeah. The concept emerged from science fiction in the 1920s. But this is all according to our good friends over at Wikipedia, by the way.
Which, you know, is always the best when it comes to fact-checking.
Jump belt around 1958. Aero pack around 1959. So, yeah, U.S. Army interest was during the late 50s. So, yeah, jetpacks exist in the world. But this kid has come up with his own, and that's pretty cool right off the bat.
Yeah.
He's kind of the cliche kid inventor.
I'd say so.
Which is in a lot of movies.
You didn't like him.
No, I hated the kid. I hated his acting.
I didn't mind him. I thought he was alright, I guess.
I literally hated all of his scenes. But luckily he's not in it that long. So then we have a young girl named Athena, played by Raffi Cassidy.
There you go.
Raffi Cassidy. This is a young girl about the age of Frank, or so we think she's a young... air quotes, girl.
She's actually a man. 40-year-old man.
She's actually a 40-year-old man. Wasn't that the movie Orphan? Wasn't that the twist at the end?
That she was like 30-something.
A 30-year-old, like, little person?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I've never seen that movie, but I've heard that's the twist.
That's the weirdest thing ever. Anyway, so Athena, seemingly the name pulled from Greek mythology. Who's Athena? What is her...
she is the goddess of wisdom.
Wisdom. Alright, so that makes sense, kind of, not really. Maybe it's just a coincidence. So she, after he gets rejected by Nix, played by Hugh Laurie, she goes up to him and says, "Hey, sorry, I'm sorry you got rejected. Here's a pin." And it has a T on it, and if you've seen the trailer, that's what the main character, Casey, picks up and goes to Tomorrowland, blah, blah, blah. So she gives him the pin with the T on it. She asks him to go on It's a Small World with them.
There's a world of laughter.
A world of going down a deep dark pit and ending up in another dimension.
Our deepest dark fears on It's a Small World whenever we ride.
Basically, he goes down a tunnel that breaks off into the ground and ends up...
It switches from It's a Small World to Pirates of the Caribbean.
So he ends up in Tomorrowland, and a robot comes out and fixes his jetpack, and it gets fixed. And anyway, he goes down and essentially lives with Athena in Tomorrowland.
Yes.
Then cut to
And
Casey Newton,
his parents don't seem to care that he's gone.
who in 2003... Wait, this movie takes place in 2003?
No. In 2003, she's looking at the stars, and then she's like the little girl, and
Oh
she's
my
saying
God,
all the
I'm
freaking
so
stars. It's like,
goddamn stupid.
that one, and
literally-
that one, and that one. Why do you know the stars so much? Because I want to go there someday.
Very good. It's been that long since we've seen it. It's been like 2 weeks? No, like...
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks.
Shit, it's been 2 weeks. Anyway...
Yeah.
It's been a week.
No, it's been a week. It's only been a week.
exactly.
Gee, we can't even remember this.
I've seen so many movies this week, even in theaters. It's been so long. Oh my god.
All right, okay.
Okay, anyway. So, if we cut to present day, she's sneaking into a NASA shuttle to basically mess with it because they're going to tear it down, and then her dad, played by...
Tim McGraw, country
legend
Tim McGraw.
Will be out of a job because he is...
A rocket scientist.
A rocket science / engineer, even though you don't get that vibe because he's a cowboy boot plaid wearing American icon.
With a mustache.
Played by
Tim McGraw. Country music Tim McGraw.
Legend, Tim McGraw. So she basically sends this drone in
to like hack into the security cameras and like
she
screw
runs
with
in,
them.
Blah blah blah. So then she goes home. We get we get an idea of her family life. She lives with her dad and her little brother. That's not really important, but she's just a simple...
Where's the mom?
Where's the mom?
The age-old Disney question.
That was for the sequel.
She's probably dead.
Probably dead. Probably car accident. Or cancer. R.I.P. Anyway.
Maybe just like the magical Disney death, where you just like...
Where
disappear.
You just don't exist.
You'd stop existing.
Deadbeat mom? I don't know. Maybe she left. Maybe she's in Tomorrowland. Maybe there's things we don't need to know. Disney doesn't do full families because that way nobody feels left out if they're from like a divorced family or a mixed family. Or,
I guess. You know.
They're trying to appeal to everyone possible. I read that somewhere. So that's why on like every Disney Channel show, like it's
some of them have.
Oh yeah, okay. Like Good Luck Charlie.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like Sweet Life. The dad was a freaking goner. Hannah Montana. The
mom was dead.
That's So Raven. The mom eventually went to college. So Corey in the House. The mom was.
The mom wasn't there because she was back in San Francisco with Raven.
Oh, I guess old school like Even Stevens, Lizzie McGuire. They had
full families. Yeah.
So okay. Well,
when you go to animated features, though, the mom's nowhere to be found.
Casey's a simple, all-American teenager, right?
Sure.
Yeah, a little bit of a rebel. She breaks into, obviously,
she's like a nerd rebel.
A nerdy rebel. The worst kind.
The future of America. Nerdy rebels.
Essentially, she gets caught the next night, or a couple nights later, breaking into the same place, right? So then she gets arrested, and that's what we saw in the first trailer. She's getting out of prison. Not prison, oh my gosh. Getting out of jail.
She's getting out of prison.
She's getting out of a 10...
After six months in Alcatraz, just comes out.
Prison sentence.
Yeah. She's all grizzled. She has a beard now.
Yeah.
Her dad comes.
She reeks of booze and cigarettes.
Her dad comes. He has like gray hairs now. Tim McGraw, country music legend Tim McGraw has shaved his mustache. Has the full beard now because he's been depressed the entire time because his daughter's been in the slammer.
Junkie, shooting up heroin every single night instead of going to school.
The mother is still dead.
Okay. Anyway.
Or missing.
So one thing we have to talk about quick is Casey is an optimist, right?
Yes. They make this evidently clear.
In a montage in the school, she's constantly putting her hand up as the teachers basically say, okay, the world is shit, the world is going under because of global warming,
some other stuff.
Poverty.
Poverty.
Like, I don't know, economic struggles, whatever, etc., etc. And she basically puts her hand up and says, but what can we do to fix it? Or is that what she says? What's the exact quote?
What are we doing to fix it?
Yeah. But nobody listens. Nobody cares.
No.
So that's an important part of her character going forward.
Because
But
they're
anyway,
all cynics, like me.
they're all cynics like me. You're a Disney fan, but you don't share the Disney spirit of progress, optimism, positivity, family loving.
Look, I try, okay? I try. I really try. I know.
So
I do.
Casey gets arrested. Then when she gets out, they're giving her back her stuff, and boom, there's a pin with the T on it, similar to what young Frank Walker got years earlier in 1964. What happens next, Noah?
Well, she's just like, that's not mine. And then the guy in the evidence locker is just like, whatever.
Okay, we don't need a play-by-play of every line. She takes the pin. She ends up in a cornfield.
I like how you're just giving up on me for plot synopsis because I just go into too much detail. I'm trying to give them the experience.
We're almost a half an hour in, and we're not even done.
I'm trying to give them the experience.
Okay, but think about it like this. If they're listening this far, they've probably already seen the movie, so they don't need
You don't know that.
know this, okay? She sees Tomorrowland. She sees a vision of the future, okay? Like a paradise, a progress city, basically, incarnate. She's walking around. There's like jetpacks, freaking pools in midair, monorails that are floating through the air, right?
You skipped some of the story.
No, she's holding the pin.
Well, she just sees it from far away in the wheat field.
I skipped that. I'm saying the next time she sees it,
okay,
and then
sorry.
she ends up in the
See, I'm the worst. Never
lake.
have me on this podcast again. I'm just ruining everything.
And she ends up in the lake, okay?
Yeah.
So, after that happens.
We forgot about pissed off Tim McGraw, country music legend.
Tim McGraw's mad at her because she got arrested, as any decent father would. Okay, so she sees a vision of the future, but then the pin's battery runs out, so she can't see it anymore. She ends up in the middle of a lake. So she decides to look up the pin, the maker, and where it came from, or where they have
where
them?
where she tried to find where it came from,
where it was trying to be sold or something. Yeah. And it ends up a collectible store in Houston full of nerdy goodies run by Hugo and Ursula, played by Keegan-Michael Key of Key and Peele, always great, and Catherine Hahn, who's been in things, but I can't remember anything in particular. So, Casey is going there to try to get some information on the pin, right? And they ain't too happy.
Where'd you get it?
So they basically try to kill her.
Yeah.
They try to shoot her. It's an awesome shootout with futuristic guns. Meanwhile, though, who's also pursuing Casey trying to get this pin?
Athena.
Yes,
the man, the 30-year-old man.
Still the same size and age range
as she was in 1964.
1964. So she's chasing after Casey. They end up meeting up at this collectible store, right? They go boom, boom, pow, pow. We find out that the store owners are actually
audio animatronics,
or
robots,
or
AAs,
or
psychopaths.
Not real people. So then they head out on the open road to go find old grizzled Frank Walker, played by country music legend
Tim McGraw.
Hollywood icon George Clooney.
Batman.
Sexiest
George
man
Clooney.
alive, George Clooney. Best Batman, George Clooney. So they end up... Okay, so Athena abandons her?
Yeah, she kind of just throws her out. And goes away.
Gone. Peace out. Next up. What happened next?
Just like, I'm looking for... I want you to take me here.
Okay.
And then...
holds up the pin. He's like...
Screw off.
Go away. I hate you. I want to be alone. I want to be a grumpy old man in peace. So then she basically tricks him into letting her in. Then
by burning a vehicle.
Oh yeah. Like
she's an arsonist.
She sets a trap.
Tractor on fire.
And then sends it at his house or
She's
something.
a loose cannon. She's nuts.
She is a psychopath. Anyway.
She's an optimistic loose cannon.
So then... Oh, we forgot robots are pursuing them, or more animatronics are pursuing them. They then have to arm the house in what's arguably the best sequence of the movie, in my opinion. which is shown in
It's pretty good.
one of the trailers where they're basically trying to escape the house. They end up in a bathtub that shoots them out into a
Lake.
Then they go to Paris, meet back up with Athena. We're going to really rush through the end of this plot, okay?
Well, the movie kind of rushes through the end of the plot in a way.
Wrecked. Okay, so they go to Paris with Athena, and they're all there, and then they go up into the Eiffel Tower, and then they see wax figures of Gustave Eiffel, Jules Verne, Nikola Tesla, and Thomas Edison.
Who are revealed as Plus Ultra, a group of minds responsible for creating Tomorrowland as a place without political interference for the greatest scientific minds to flourish.
It's goddamn inspiring as hell. A little convoluted, but we'll get to that in a minute. So they shoot off in a like kind of steampunk rocket up.
The Eiffel Tower opens up into a launching pad.
That's where I kind of lost the movie.
Lost the movie a bit.
At the same time, I really liked it, but it kind of lost me on a plot basis. So then they launch into outer space. Somehow end up in Tomorrowland.
They do some time.
It's
displacement.
I don't know. It's a shit show when they get there. It's all like busted up. There's nobody around. So we find out that what Casey saw on the pin was essentially a projection, kind of like a commercial.
It was a commercial because they were going to go public.
They were going to let people in?
Let people in, yeah, make it public. But I guess, I'm pretty sure Hugh Laurie had something to do with being like, nope.
Nix, if you don't remember, from the beginning of the film.
Nixed it. Nixed the idea.
Nixed the nix. Okay,
yeah. What?
Anyway. So yeah, in case you forgot who that was in the beginning of the movie, he shows up again in the third act.
He's Hugh Laurie.
He's
the villain.
He's the bad guy, but not really. He's kind of teetering on the bad. He's kind of a dick, but at the same time, he doesn't really do anything that villainous in the movie at all.
In a way, the machine is kind of the bad guy. Or
he has
going deep here.
Okay.
Pessimism is the bad guy.
Ooh, lack of
cynicism is the bad guy. The thing I've built my comedy over is the bad guy.
The thing you live your life upon
is the bad guy.
So, basically he has this doomsday machine that is basically feeding off negativity from people and is basically building up to the end of the world. That's what I got from it.
And it was going to happen in the next, 50 days or something?
50 days. They don't have a lot of time. Does time move faster on Earth than it does in Tomorrowland? Is that why?
No, it happens at the same time.
That why the stakes were so high? I don't know.
No, it happens in the same time, but it was a predicting machine.
Right. Okay.
And Hugh Laurie doesn't age a day because of his shake.
So we find out that Frank was banned from Tomorrowland once he started to get older. His suspicions raised about Athena, how she wasn't aging as he was, because did we say Athena was a robot or an animatronic?
We definitely said that Athena was a 40-year-old man.
Okay, she's actually an animatronic.
She's a robot.
We're not keeping up with our jokes very well.
No.
So Athena's a robot. She didn't age. Frank got suspicious. He was banned from Tomorrowland. So now he's back, 50 years later.
Frank is back, all right.
Oh God. He's back. Hugh Laurie basically sends him away. Within 20 minutes of him getting to Tomorrowland, he's banned once again, but not before a fight breaks out that they try to
with some robots.
Stop the machine with some robots,
but not animatronics, actual
They've got a grenade
robot
as well that they want to blow it up with.
Yeah, they're gonna blow up the machine, and Hugh Laurie's like, "Don't blow up the machine."
So a terrible action sequence breaks out. A disappointing climax. They defeat Hugh Laurie's David Nix. Basically, he dies. A thing falls on top of him.
Oh yeah, that. Jeez.
Yeah, he dies. There's no more.
Nope. They didn't even capture him, send him to prison.
In order to end the machine, Athena gave her, well, not her life, but her robot life, so they could save the world.
And then she told George Clooney that he wasn't funny, and then she blew up in the machine.
There was an awkward romantic undertone with their
which
story.
Is kind of creepy,
but she's not really a human.
So
it's not pedophilic, but it's a little weird.
It's kind of weird because, it's a really old actor and a really young actor. You weirdo.
Freaky weirdo. Anyway.
The guy who forgot to write Prometheus.
Oh, God. So Nix dies. Then we go back to when George Clooney was talking to the camera, addressing the camera, and he's actually talking to a bunch of new child robots.
He's talking to us.
He's talking to us. He's telling us a call to action, okay? He says, go out there, find the dreamers of tomorrow. Now,
bring them here.
Casey and her whole family are living
Rip
there.
them from their family and bring them here.
Tomorrowland's kind of gone more public.
Sort of.
It's back the pristine way it used to be.
It's nice looking.
And then we find all the dreamers. Their kids
the
are
lovers,
pins,
the dreamers, and
pins
me.
all over the world. They're picking them up. I like that ending. It definitely concluded.
They all
the movie.
appear in the field.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
That was cool. I enjoyed that.
It ended definitively.
Nice contained story.
It's a contained story. It's a one-off film. It doesn't needlessly set up a sequel. Which
is good because they're not getting one.
That's Tomorrowland. Bing, bam, boom. In a nutshell.
That took us longer than it should have.
All right, so now that we've gotten through that muddled, long, complicated plot, we're going to
probably because of me.
Because of your unnecessary attention to detail.
Yeah,
we're now going to get into our thoughts of the movie. So, what I thought about Tomorrowland was it had a lot of great ideas, but it was a little too unfocused to follow through on any of them. It was trying to do a lot in like 2 hours and a bit, and I think it suffered because of that. You know?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
They had to set up a whole world in Tomorrowland, and they also had to set up like this near future Earth. I like that. It had a lot of great ideas. Okay? The alternate dimension is a great idea.
That's good.
We don't know what Tomorrowland is.
How it was made.
We know who made it, but we don't know how the hell did Jules Verne and Thomas Edison and them build this world.
Also, Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison despise each other. Thomas Edison basically steals all the ideas from Nikola Tesla and patents them before he can.
What a dick.
Yeah, Thomas Edison's a real dick.
So, you can put that on my quotes, man. Thomas Edison is a real dick. So, basically, it's Damon Lindelof writing this. He wrote Prometheus, if you don't know. And this movie is very similar to that in that it sets up a lot of questions, but doesn't seem to answer almost any of them. I wish Brad Bird had more of a hand in writing this. I think he wrote...
He wrote the story, but not like
he co-wrote the screenplay.
Did he co-write? Oh, okay.
But I have a feeling this is more Lindelof than Bird in a writing capacity.
Probably.
But it's very well shot. Would you agree?
Oh, I'd agree with that, yeah.
I would agree. Like you said, the first half is damn great. The opening scene is cool. You get a lot of Disney references, which we'll get to in a minute.
Ooh, so many.
So many. And I like that. It's got the old-timey 60s vibe. It feels like he went to Disneyland. That's what I wish the movie had more of. At the same time as it was called Tomorrowland, that opening sequence was a lot of nostalgia,
Yeah, I'd agree.
Well, let's talk about the film, which was originally announced under the working title 1952. What in God's name do you think it was called that for? Do you think they were going into more of the development of Tomorrowland with Walt Disney as a part of it in the film?
Maybe. I'd say so because there was like I've read into this, and there was quite a bit of Walt Disney stuff in the original screenplay, which the Disney PR department, I assume, kind of nixed that. David nixed that.
Walt was going to be a character in the movie?
I don't think he was going to be a character, but I think he was going to be heavily referenced.
Yeah, in this one there was just a few references here and there. Like it said Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress, or It's a Small World,
and the fact that the entrance to Tomorrowland is inside It's a Small World, which you can assume that Walt Disney had something to do with it, but we don't know to the capacity. Also, we can assume Tomorrowland inspired Epcot.
Very true.
For Walt Disney.
Does Disney So Disneyland and Disney World exist in this world,
Yes.
but there's also an actual Tomorrowland in another dimension.
Yes.
But
That means
also-
that means the name Tomorrowland was essentially
So Ha Music Festival, it was invented somewhere else first. Shove it up your ass.
way to go Tomorrowland. Come up with something more creative.
Like today.
Woodstock or something. Just call it electronic Woodstock.
Fuck you.
Well,
Walt Disney forever.
watch it, man.
So yeah, I like this.
Not making your language Disney appropriate.
Basically, what I was getting at was earlier when I talked about this movie being very optimistic, is that it's a movie about the future, which isn't like this post-apocalyptic, dreadful.
We're all dying.
Like Mad Max inspired, movie. Like you see so much that the future is going to be dismal and
depressing.
shitty. And that's what they play on kind of when the teachers are like that and
yes.
when Tomorrowland isn't as
Which seems more like the realistic outcome
True.
of the future.
But this is a Disney movie, of course.
Keep moving forward.
So yeah, it's about like innovation, the idea of utopia, that sort of philosophy that Walt pushed forward in Tomorrowland and his development of Progress City, blah blah blah. And that was refreshing for a movie. But at the same time, a lot of this shit made no sense at all. Like the Paris rocket made zero sense to me.
No, that made no sense. No one discovered that? No one knew to do that?
That's what didn't make sense to me, that there was a rocket
Did they like erase the memories of
Since,
the
like,
people?
the
Like, did people
60s?
just see the rocket just
So wait,
exist?
that means Tomorrowland was existed in like the 20s?
Yeah.
The early 20th century.
Before
because
that.
of
Yeah,
Edison.
early, like,
Edison was around like the 1880s, 1890s.
Yeah, all those people were, like, around there,
inventing
yeah.
Stuff.
not really inventing stuff, more like stealing Nikola Tesla's
okay.
stuff.
Like developing technologies. So that makes sense. That's
Enjoying
cool.
silent films,
So-
but only silent films.
Where did Walt Disney come in? What the hell did that have to do with?
Walt Disney probably met those people in the 30s. Like, hi, I'm Walt Disney. Hi, we're these people. We'll give you tons of money if you make a feature-length animated film. I made a feature-length animated film.
Oh,
Good for
you're
you.
a dreamer.
Here's
Here's a pin.
Here's a pin. Take
So
it.
Walt was the first person with a pin who went to Tomorrowland, then said, "Hey, this is really
Wait, where
cool."
was the other entrance to Tomorrowland?
He went, "Hey, this is really cool.
I'm gonna put one in
you
its-
go up to space." He said,
yeah.
"Hey, this is really cool. I'm gonna make a theme park, and one of the lands is gonna be called Tomorrowland." So then,
and then he got into some sort of legal entanglement with the estate of Thomas Edison.
yeah, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so that didn't make much sense. What else didn't make sense? This whole future doomsday plot to me didn't really make any sense.
No, not really.
Came out of nowhere.
You can kind of see into the future
Was
using
pretty
the device.
They basically tried to force Hugh Laurie into the villain role. And that's what I hate about movies. Forced villains. I hate forced villains.
If you're not going to have a villain, don't have a villain. Make pessimism the villain.
Make the villain time. Make time is the enemy, basically.
Time.
Because they're running out of time. The human negativity. That's an interesting theme to explore. Or personify that in like a futuristic like alien robot thing. That would have been cool. But Hugh Laurie...
I am Negative Man.
Hugh Laurie is just a little bit bland in this role. And he's a great actor. So I don't know why you wouldn't just let him go completely over the top or like a nuanced, creepy bad guy. But he came off pretty bland.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think everyone was cast really well. Casting was not a problem. Britt Robertson,
Good.
George Clooney,
Good.
Raffi Cassidy,
Good.
quite good actually.
Yeah.
I had never seen her in anything else.
No.
She was annoying at first, and I wasn't really sure
Yeah.
about it. Good. Judy Greer played Jenny Newton, Casey's mother. Was she was in that flashback clip? Right?
Oh yeah, flashback.
So we don't actually know.
I think she
Did
died.
they mention that?
Maybe she's in prison.
I feel like they. That's where Casey gets her like.
Rebellious.
Rebellious nature.
No. The closing of NASA. Since I'm just gonna assume both of them are rocket scientists. So the closing of NASA drove Casey's mother on a warpath.
God.
And she like
And they don't bring it up because it's a very touchy
subject with Casey, who gets the rebellious streak from her mother.
Oh my god.
Disney mother fan theories.
And
I assume that's a website somewhere.
lastly, Thomas Robinson as young Frank,
who
terrible.
You hate, and
I
I didn't mind.
He's so bland.
He was okay, I guess.
He is so bland.
He's a child actor.
So that's no excuse. Athena was way
That's
better
true.
than he
She's
was.
a child actor, and she was really good.
A lot more charisma and charm than someone like that kid who was awkward as hell.
I'm Frank Walker.
This is a jetpack.
I
Take
built
my
it.
jetpack.
It doesn't necessarily work. It's for fun.
It's for fun. Oh yeah, I do it for fun.
Oh yeah, Hugh Laurie does not like fun. He is completely anti-fun. There's no such thing as magic. Except just replace magic with fun.
So, Noah, I know I asked you to compile a list of all the Easter eggs that you yourself found in the movie.
Oh, this is the point, huh?
We'll go into Easter eggs now because and then we'll go into our final thoughts of the movie. And then we'll do a little bit of trivia about the movie. Fun facts.
Okay. As Frank Walker gets off the Greyhound bus in the 1960s, the song There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow is playing, which made me really happy.
And I wish it was just playing under the whole film.
Yeah, just the entire film, just like Sherman Brothers should have just wrote a bunch of songs just to play under this. We should have heard like One Little Spark in the corner. One Little Spark.
So that song, if you don't know, is the theme song of the Carousel of Progress, which is one of the greatest theme park attractions of all time. It was one that debuted at the New York World's Fair in 1964 and ended up going to Disneyland and then now resides at Disney World, Magic Kingdom, in Tomorrowland.
Yes.
So
name of the film.
That was name of the film.
Not the music festival.
The music festival. The theme park land and the film.
And then we see that he arrives at the 1964 World's Fair, a very important place in Disney history, where Walt Disney unveiled 3, sort of 4, because the Ford Magic Highway kind of evolved into the People Mover.
We'll say 3 for sake of argument.
For the sake of argument, 3. Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, which still resides in Disneyland on Main Street. It's a Small World, which resides at every Disney park.
And
Carousel Progress, which resides at the Magic Kingdom. Also, this was a testing ground to see if they could move into the East Coast and go with Disney World.
Which proved to all of these attractions were a success.
Yep.
So they moved forward with
the Florida Project.
All right, what next?
Next, you see It's a Small World, which is the entrance to Tomorrowland at the 1964 World's Fair, but outside of Walt Disney's It's a Small World, presented by Pepsi Cola, I think.
Who?
No, UNICEF. It was UNICEF. Presented by UNICEF. Pepsi did it later, I think. Anyways, presented by UNICEF. You see the White Rabbit.
All right.
And the Big Bad Wolf as walk-around characters, which is important, because I believe Athena says a line somewhere about going down the rabbit hole, where the White Rabbit is there, down the rabbit hole into Tomorrowland, and the Big Bad Wolf is significant because it's that weird thing that Tim McGraw talked about, country music legend Tim McGraw, talked about how, you feed 2 wolves, the positive one and then, a negative one or something.
So the wolf kind of represented
that concept. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Kind of cool. A cool little nod.
Okay.
Lines in the film.
But now, as Frank Walker is going around Tomorrowland, we get our first look at Disney icon Space Mountain.
One of the most iconic theme park structures ever. If someone showed you a picture of Space Mountain, chances are you know it's Space Mountain.
Very important landmark. I'd say it's the Disney World Space Mountain because it's the Disney World one, I believe, is the largest, and that one was quite large, and plus it looks more similar.
All right.
You know what? It doesn't matter.
And later on when you see the desolate, dirty, dingy Tomorrowland,
Space Mountain, pristine as ever,
it's perfectly white.
No, I bet here's my theory. So they had it all dingy and stuff, and then the Disney Parks PR people came and they're like, We don't want to give off a negative vibe from our
We work
park.
very hard to keep Space Mountain
really clean.
even though it's not. If you go around
if you
the
go
back
up like
on the
yeah,
back path,
that back path, it's kind
dirty.
of dirty.
They only keep it clean on the
like,
one
the
side
one-
that
yeah.
everyone sees when they come in.
Like that back path, from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland. Yeah, they don't keep that part of Space Mountain.
We're
very
on
clean.
to you, Disney. Yeah, Space Mountain, it was great to see. I wish that played a part. I wish they had to like go into Space Mountain in the
I was
climax or
disappointed
something.
when they're like, next stop, the spaceport, and the spaceport was not Space Mountain.
Yeah, that would have been a cool nod. Even if like, yeah, that's where you launch off to or go into another dimension or whatever.
Yeah.
I wish Space Mountain had more of a role. But it was really cool to see, and it was a cool Easter egg. I bet Brad Bird had an awesome action set piece based around Space Mountain.
But it was...
Lindelof said,
No.
We want to do a Doomsday Machine. And Disney was like,
Doomsday Machine
that sounds
is
cheaper. Do that.
That sounds a lot cheaper.
What's next?
Oh, whew.
Keeping in mind the ever-ticking clock of time.
Okay, do you want me to rapid fire?
No!
I'll rapid fire these.
Yeah, do it. Rapid fire. Let's go.
Okay, so next we have the robots in Blast from the Past referred to as audio animatronics, or AAs, which are... Just say it. Say it. You say it.
They were first developed by Disney, I believe.
Yes,
Walt
and they're
Disney
like they're
Imagineering?
the like things that appear in the.
The
They're
rides. You go on Pirates of the
right.
Caribbean.
Those are animatronics.
You
They
go
use
on-
hydraulic fuel, and some use pneumatics now.
Ooh, Noah, coming with the knowledge.
And they used to use red hydraulic fuel, but then when it sprung a leak, it looked like the animatronics were bleeding.
And then other theme
There's an
parks-
interesting story with Mr. Lincoln, where like they thought that they reenact the death of Abraham Lincoln.
The collectible store.
You
Casey
see-
goes to.
You see a lot of nods to Brad Bird's previous works, including a comic book guy little figure and a Bartman stuffed animal.
He worked on
He
The
worked
Simpsons
on
at the
The
time?
Simpsons for many years. You see an Iron Giant statue referring to his work on the Iron Giant. A
Mr. Incredible.
Mr. Incredible
action
action figure, which actually like falls to the ground in like a slow motion thing.
figure. Couldn't find anything on Ratatouille, did you?
I didn't see anything around Ratatouille, but I did see an Emperor Zurg, which relates to his work at Pixar, even though he didn't
Pixar,
really
yeah.
work on Toy Story.
A lot of
But,
Star Wars stuff.
Alluding to the thing that he turned down
He
to
turned
make this
down.
movie.
Anything else you saw in the store? I know there was a lot of stuff.
There was like a black hole thing I read. I'm not sure if there's anything to the words The Rocketeer, but that seems like it would probably be there.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like if we watched the movie or that scene a few more times, I'm sure we'd pick up on pretty much everything.
There is a Walt Disney photo, and it's like the only nod to Walt Disney other than Walt Disney's...
It's a small
It's a
world.
small world. It's the only other nod left in the film that has to do with Walt Disney. There's a little Walt Disney photo with like a rocket ship model.
Interesting. I'd be curious to hear why his role was like decreased to nothing, because it would have been interesting to involve him in some way.
I think it's good to go back to a thing that I forgot to talk about. Athena, when you first see her, her appearance is reminiscent of Wendy from Peter Pan, sort of. Kind of like a 60s style
And she
Wendy.
kind of takes
Him to Neverland.
him to Neverland, and she never grows up.
Yes.
Whoa.
So she's like her Peter Pan Wendy thing.
Oh my goodness.
We're
that's
getting into
crazy.
some deep stuff here.
Man, there's some deep stuff. Too bad it didn't follow through on any of this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Damn.
Okay.
All right, a few more.
A few more. Oh, I have to pick and choose. Okay, I'm just gonna go quickly through the rocket ship that we admitted to not liking that part. That could be a more steampunkified TWA Moonliner, which appeared in Disneyland from the 50s to like the 70s. But then now also appears in Tomorrowland from like 98 to the present. The seating in the rocket, reminiscent of Flight to the Moon and Mission to Mars, which have you sitting in a circular pattern with like portholes around you.
Okay.
I'm
Mission Space.
No, we're not mentioning Mission Space. Mission Space is a claustrophobia simulator.
Okay, go on.
What?
Mission Space is a death machine.
Yeah, it shouldn't exist in the real world.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go two more.
In Tomorrowland,
Yep.
the cars that are shown are Chevrolet cars.
Right.
And there are there's a concept car in the queue for Test Track.
Yes,
which is the exact same car as that one. And the end credits.
Yep.
It's kind of like a flying over, kind of like 60s style look to it. Anyways, flying over Tomorrowland, and you see Space Mountain and Spaceship Earth in the same shot, which makes me wonder if Spaceship Earth was actually in the background the entire time, and I just didn't notice it. I'll have to look at that later. Also, it's clearly like a Progress City influence thing, as we already discussed, and
kind of combines Tomorrowland and
Epcot together. Walt Disney had a cut roll. That is it. I am done.
Bravo.
There we go.
Amazing.
I'm a nerd. I'm a cynical nerd rebel. The future of America.
Wow. And we're not even in America. That's amazing. That was the Easter eggs that we picked up on, particularly Noah. I basically picked up on a few of those. He did a bit of further research, obviously, into some of those things.
Yeah.
Because the Peter Pan one was pretty interesting. The mission to Mars kind of seating was interesting, and the rocket design, and all that, yada yada, blah blah. And now we are going to end off with some trivia.
Ooh.
And get some thoughts on it.
Okay.
On trivia.
All right, trivia. IMDb trivia.
IMDb trivia. So, first, Brad Bird was one of the first choices to direct Star Wars: The Force Awakens, but he turned it down to direct this. Good move in hindsight?
Maybe.
I think if he didn't direct this, it would have been even worse.
That's true. It would have been pretty bad if he didn't direct this.
At least it's mediocre instead of just downright awful.
I feel like Lindelof was like going off the rails, and Brad Bird was trying to like hold him back.
But he just couldn't.
But he couldn't
control
like.
him.
It's the George Lucas effect.
It was the Steven Spielberg, George Lucas effect.
Yeah.
Brad Bird is Steven Spielberg trying to tell a good story.
Damon Lindelof is George Lucas wanting to like
tie in as much shit as he can.
Well, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
Everything is so dense. Okay, next, Shailene Woodley of Divergent, The Fault in Our Stars, was originally cast as Casey. Was that a good idea, or are you glad she left? I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, I don't really.
So,
I'm indifferent to the matter. I like Britt Robertson as
So we agree that
Casey. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of glad
that doesn't
she wasn't there.
freaking matter.
Yeah.
Disney had to change the name from Tomorrowland to Disney Project T. Terrible title. Because of the Electronic Music Festival Tomorrowland.
Which we've already said, screw off Tomorrowland.
And when they do festivals...
Electronic Woodstock.
When they do festivals in America, they have to call it Tomorrow World. So why didn't Disney just name the movie Tomorrow World? I guess because they call it Tomorrowland in the movie.
Yeah. They still call it... No, what if they just had to dub over every line?
You wanted to see Disney Project T. Well, here you go.
Disney Project T.
Michael Giacchino, the film's composer, makes a cameo as the It's a Small World ride operator.
That's very interesting.
That is pretty cool. Someone wrote, technically, Athena did not have a death scene. She was an android, which means she wasn't alive to begin with.
Wow, thanks. Who cares?
That's optimism.
That's optimism right there. She's not dead. She was never alive.
Ooh, this is
She
cool.
was only a 40-year-old man. It wasn't a little girl dying.
This one's interesting. If you reverse Casey by pronunciation, you get Isaac. Casey's last name is Newton, meaning Sir Isaac Newton, one of the most renowned scientists of all time, may be an inspiration for Casey's name and behavior of how she figures how things work. But I didn't totally buy her as an inventor.
No.
Because she really didn't...
She was a nerd rebel.
She really didn't invent anything, so more of a nerd rebel. Nothing wrong with that.
Nerd rebel.
We all wish to be one.
Future of America, nerd rebels.
Final thoughts on the film Tomorrowland.
It's good.
It's just okay for me. It's a light 6.
If
I had to give it a rating out of 10, it's a very light 6. Light 6, heavy 5 for me. If you had to number it.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
Whoa.
I enjoyed it.
I do like the
It's
optimism. I do like the vibe.
I have a feeling it's going to be a cult classic eventually, like The Rocketeer and the original Tron.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely get it on Blu-ray, and I'll definitely, watch it again. I didn't hate watching it.
This is going to be a movie people are going to look back on and wonder why they judged it so harshly, I think. And I will eat my hat in 25 years if that's not the case. You can quote me on that. If you're still doing this
number 407.
I was going to say, if you're still doing this podcast in 25 years, I will eat my own hat live in the podcast when you have me on as a guest again, which you probably will never, since...
No, this has gone quite well. Yeah.
Except for the synopsis.
The synopsis took a long time, but it was entertaining. Yeah. This is definitely better than John Carter and Lone Ranger combined. So, while it may be another arguable flop for Disney, it had good intentions.
Yeah.
I don't think this was really made for a cash grab, really.
No.
Because, Brad Bird had an idea, and he really wanted to tell this story, and he turned down goddamn Star Wars for this. So
he must have felt good about this project.
He must have seen something.
Or he really did not feel good about Star Wars. He's just like, I don't want to be responsible if this all goes down horribly.
True. So he's like, Tomorrowland, less people will care if that's bad.
Yeah.
And then he'll just run back to
Star
his
Wars,
safety.
I'll get stabbed.
Incredibles 2 is going to be his safety blanket now, and he'll run back.
Yeah.
So that is our review of Tomorrowland, Disney's Tomorrowland, directed by Brad Bird. Not to be confused with Europe's Tomorrowland,
The music festival.
Whoever created that.
Some weird European guy, I assume.
Some weird dance music enthusiast.
Scummy,
the lot of them.
Europeans.
All
smell like wine and cheese.
Noah, do you have anything to plug?
And pretzels and beer? No, I don't.
Do you have anything to plug?
No.
Anywhere people can find you on the web?
No. I'm an elusive mystery.
Where can they find you?
Unknown to everyone.
Where can they find you?
I'm not plugging anything.
Where can they find you?
Where can they find me? On your channel. YouTube.com/user/Nicholas whatever it is.
That doesn't count. You're plugging me. I was about to do that myself.
Oh, okay. Well, that's where you can find me.
You just got a Twitter.
I did. At Guy the Noah.
You gotta get more followers.
I don't need more. No, I'm pretty sure all of them are bots. Actually.
Like they're me and bots.
Bots.
All right. Well, you can follow him on Twitter at Guy the Noah. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas_Janzen. I tweet hilarious things. I just tweeted a hilarious picture of the Ant-Man poster where Michael Pena is just standing there, useless in a plaid shirt.
He's his purpose unknown.
Go favorite that. I'm really trying with the great material on the Twitter. You can also follow the Earnest.
Just trying horribly.
You can also
give up.
You can also follow the Earnest Perspective. We're on Twitter at Earnest Podcast, and we're on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/the Earnest Perspective. What I think I'm going to do is actually post the full episodes on YouTube and find another way to download it, and then post highlights on SoundCloud, because they want $90 a year, and that's bullshit until we get more listeners.
We don't want to pay them any money.
That's not a worthwhile investment.
I bet they support the Tomorrowland Music Festival.
So, probably. SoundCloud, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a sponsor. So, basically...
Bunch of no-good communists.
And I would like to get this on iTunes at one point. I'm still working on that. I don't really know how to go about that at the moment. So, yeah, tweet me at Nicholas_Janzen, at Earnest Podcast. Tweet him at Guy the Noah. Don't do that. That has nothing to do with the show. But I would like to thank you, Noah, as much as I dog on you. It was a great show. This is my favorite episode yet. I'll say it.
That's really sad, actually.
It was great. In the next episode, I will be recapping the Insidious trilogy. That's going to be a lot of fun. Then the next episode will be Jurassic World, guests TBA. But essentially, that's what's coming up in the next month or so. Episodes, I'm trying to get them out every other Monday, so the schedule might be backed up a little bit. It doesn't matter. Only like 30 people maybe listen to this. But yeah, share with your friends. Tweet the link to the YouTube. Tweet the link to the SoundCloud. Let's get this a little bit.
You have an hour to kill? Why not?
Why not?
The Earnest Perspective. I forgot the name of the podcast for a second.
You like
That's
to take
embarrassing.
long showers? Throw this up on a speaker. Listen to it. You got a long commute to work or school? Listen to it.
Trying to go to bed? Listen to it.
Have no friends? Listen to it. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
See, that's me.
Life.
That's what I do.
That's Noah Janzen.
I replace my friends with the Earnest Perspective podcast.
And it's working out great for
I
Noah.
know.
His life is totally fulfilled.
Yeah.
Anyway, Noah, say goodbye to the good folks.
See ya.
Thank me for letting you come on this goddamn show.
No.
Thank you for flexing your immense knowledge of Disney and Disney parks.
I feel like a nerd.
And all things
A rebel
Disney.
nerd.
A rebel nerd.
The
nerd
future
rebel.
of America.
Hashtag Casey the Nerd Rebel. And I am Nicholas Janzen, your host. Thank you for joining us on the Earnest Perspective podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Peace out.